my girls at? Where my girls at? Independent, free spirit. Ooh, it's something serious. Where my girls at? We link up in a cool minute. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, it's going down. It's going down on a Monday. OMG. It is Motivation Monday, Momentum Monday, Mo Money Monday, whatever kind of Monday you want. Sabrina, what kind of Monday is it today?
Every day is Monday, baby. Every day, all day is Monday.
Every day. It is Katrina Harris Earl coming to you from California, and I am here with my girls, Lady Chrisette Ellis. Make sure you're following her on Instagram out of Detroit at Sabrina Monday, coming to you from Lake Geneva, Ohio, and at Gloria Mayfield Banks, coming to you from Ellicott City, Maryland. But really, she has been all over the world on virtual today. Okay, we're gonna hear a little bit about that, you guys. This is We Got Issues. And yes, we have issues, but I'm telling you, we have an amazing life also. And we're going to talk about some joyful things today. And then we're going to get into our topic. Y'all. There's some heavy things that are taking place in our world, in our day today. I'm sure, like you, I woke up to the news about the loss of an American hero, Colin Powell. And so we're going to talk about that for a bit. Just really clinched me, and we'll talk about that. But today on the show, we are again talking about a very, very, very important issue on 910 AM, the Superstation. This is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and it is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so we're spending a lot of time talking about two very important issues that affect women, that affect African Americans, that affect young people, that affect us all. There's not too many people listening in that have not either personally been affected or had a good, close girlfriend, family member, sister, friend, someone that has been affected. So we're going to be talking about that. We want you to call us today and tune into the conversation on 910 AM, the Superstation. We Got Issues. I know you're following us on at the Force of Friendship on Instagram and Facebook. I already know you're doing that because we promise we will always bring it. You can call us 313-778-7600. So be sure that you dial in today. I am going to go to the girlfriends. Let's see. I don't know who else to go to, but if you paid attention to Gloria and Chrisette this weekend at that Barbara Bates fashion show, I think I'm just going to go to you, Chrisette. First of all, I know those of you that are on Facebook that are on the radio don't see this, but every day you got to just tune into Facebook because Chrisette could do something different to her hair. I'm just a little jealous about that. Okay. I'm a little jelly. I need help. I need a lot of help from a friend. I got to put something on to change my hair. Chrisette, looking fly and fabulous. How are you? And how was the weekend?
I am doing fantastic. Just a little sad at the news of our Secretary of State, Colin Powell, former Secretary of State, Colin Powell, dying. We were actually in the car driving to the airport to catch the flight from Chicago back to Detroit when we got the news. And Oh, when I tell you, my heart just sank because I absolutely loved him. He was such a statesman, and he just represented our people very, very well. And of course, we could go on and on about the man. General Colin Powell. But yeah, so that was kind of a damper hearing that news. But the weekend was absolutely amazing. You know, it's been a while since I've been back on a plane. And so decided, I initially thought I was going to drive, but decided we'd go ahead and fly to Chicago, to Midway, right there in Chicago. And it was like like a picture perfect weekend. The weather was great. I mean, you know, a little briskness in the air, but just wonderful. And then I was going there for the fashion show for Barbara Bakes, who is a phenomenal designer right there in the Chicago area. She was celebrating her 35th year anniversary of just styling some of everybody. And so she put on this amazing fashion show. And when I tell you, she nailed it. I loved literally, I was just like, take my whole purse and then call my husband and tell him I moved to Africa. Okay. Take the whole purse, and then I'm moving away. It was just her designs, her fabric choices are just amazing. But one of the things I love about Barbara is that she's a designer. And she really kind of is a self-taught designer, but I love her heart. She has given back so much to the community there in Chicago. I mean, when COVID hit, she shut everything down and started making masks for the police officers there. You know, she makes gowns for underprivileged young ladies doing homecoming weekend. So she has a heart for her community. They love her in the community. And I'm going to tell you, literally, if you ever wear a Barbara Bakes design, you are going to stop the show. People are going to turn around like, where did you get that? And trust me, you've had it for 15 years. So her pieces are absolutely timeless. And of course, you know, hanging out with my girl, Gloria Mayfield Banks. I mean,
we saw you
for me. And when I tell you, I walked in, I was like, now that's how you do it. I mean, she looked fabulous. Seeing her sister, Amy, when I tell you, she is super bad all day long, looking amazing. So we had a great weekend. I'm going to throw it over to Gloria because I can go on and on and on. Gloria, what's going on? What's going on?
Oh, my goodness, y'all. Seriously, we are so happy to be with you today. We're happy to be with you today. First, I'm going to start with you, like you said, Chris. I screamed when I saw the message about Colin because I didn't hear it from anybody else when I got on my phone. I just screamed out loud and yelled at Ken, did you hear? And he had just heard as well. So that was just, it's mind blowing. I think it's really great tribute to say what he represented to us, how he represented us, how he represented himself, even talking so boldly about the mistakes that he made. You know, he navigated the waters by not skirting the issue, but hitting the issue dead on, and then contributing back to where we could. When I was reading more about him and what he did for the Obama presidency, and that he didn't shy away from it. He stepped, you know, I'm talking to people right now about stay your core. Whatever your core is, just stay your core and don't, you know, bend to the left or to the right because of other people's opinions. So I just really want to say that we have lost a really strong person. And I just wanted to say that. I love that. Let me tell you something, y'all. Here's an experience. Sit next to Chrisette at a fashion show. Okay, just sit next to her at a fashion show. I'm sitting up there trying to do Instagram Live and Facebook Live, and she is doing the whole commentating. Ooh, we girl.
We heard her. We heard her.
I know. I'm like, oh, would you please get off my Facebook? Would you please? She's like, oh, look at that shirt. Oh my goodness, the shoes. I said, I'm not there yet. Yeah, I'm not there yet. Yeah, it was so funny. Then we see the celebrities, Lisa Ray and BB Wyman, and look, I left. Chris stayed back and got all the
pictures
with
of
all
everybody.
Every celebrity. I mean, for real. I was like, there she go, getting everything. I mean, it was just so good. And plus, for me, I hadn't been to Chicago in a long time. My sister was there. I love the city of Chicago. I love the sky. Katrina, you didn't tell us Bank of America. skyscraper look like that. That skyscraper the Bank of America had, for real. I was like, Amy, really? She didn't even know. I said, look at the top of the building. It says Bank of, I mean, it was just so beautiful. The venue was beautiful. Barbara was amazing. You guys, I'm telling you, Tribe, Force of Friendship, I'm telling you, you got to hang out with us. You got to hang out with those, because those kind of women are in our tribe. And I mean, she just blew us away with the excellence, the style, Sam Mary Kay did the makeup for it, the lights that were everywhere. It was just
the venue.
breathtaking.
Anthony said, first of all, I can't
fabulous.
believe I can't believe I wasn't in Chicago. Left Chicago a week ago. But Anthony said, what was the venue? Do you know the name? Remember the name of the venue, Chris?
Yeah, it was 150 North something. It was 150 North something.
Yeah, but it
was across the street from the Bank of America. And that Riverwalk went down there. Yeah.
Wow. It was fabulous.
I think it's a Hyatt property that they manage. But let me just say this, we had celebrities there, BB Winans and Lisa Ray, but let me tell you, they saw Gloria. Hey, I love following you. Hey, look. She was a celebrity too. So
that first lady, that ain't true. That ain't true.
There, and they were coming up, and Gloria was taking pictures, and I was looking at Amy like, I know everywhere we go, can't go nowhere with her.
I said to her
really
before,
good time.
behind the scenes before we came on, I said, Gloria, how many times have you changed clothes today? Because I know you've been with what's the name of the conference that you're speaking for now?
Platform Tour.
The Platform Tour conference. We just watched you on that, talking about confidence, and another call, then another call. It's just been 5 times, and you ain't done.
God, it's just been. I took this off and put that on, and took this off and put that on. Yeah, let me tell you something. Here's the blessing, y'all, for real. You only see right here. You only see right here. The minute we have to go below the waist, we are in trouble, y'all. We are in trouble for real. For real. It's looking crazy. But
you got the orange memo. I don't know what happened, Chris. I'm going to my other red, orange girlfriend, looking fabulous and fly. We see you, Rio, in the background. How you doing, Sabrina?
Good. Oh my goodness, living vicariously through my girlfriends in Chicago at the fashion show. Thank you guys so much for live streaming it. I mean, that venue was fabulous. I asked Chris, where is that? I mean, the lighting, the setup was phenomenal. And it just gave me a good break because we were like head over with sports this weekend. We had our first big wrestling camp at Spire. We had boys coming in from Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia.
Wow.
Their first experience to see the facility. The parents were wowed. And so Kenny did a tremendous job just selling the program, selling himself. They loved it. There was a phenomenal camp. Tough kids. So that was a great diversion after being in the gym in tennis shoes and, all of that.
And what about Kennedy coming in town?
And then Kennedy, my son, came in. We got to see him hang out. It was a quick minute, but he came in to help his dad with the camp, and the kids always love Kennedy. Whenever he does a camp, they always love Kennedy. And so that was really good just to get adjusted and acclimated to our new way of working here. And so if you got wrestlers, send them our way. We are making it better. So it
Making
was great.
Olympic champions. Making Olympic champions. And Sabrina, I still don't think we posted the link for the documentary for your husband, for Kenny.
I will do that. I will do that today for sure. Yeah.
So we need the Force of Friendship this week. She's going to post a link. We're all going to watch it. And then we're having Olympic gold medalist Kenny Monday come on. We're going to feature him and we're going to talk all about it. Okay. So we can't wait. I just want to say this before we bring our guest in. Not only were we shocked about hearing about the passing of Colin Powell, but we were shocked to find out that he was fully vaccinated. So I know we will be talking about that, but again, it's just a reminder, he had those underlying conditions. I got boosted, Gloria got boosted, Sabrina got boosted, and Chrisette, Moderna is coming. It got approved, right? So I'm just giving a shout out there. And y'all, Ahmaud Arbery, they are picking the jury for Ahmaud Arbery, and they said they had to pick for, normally it's a pool of about 150, but they had to pick from a pool of over 1,000 because they believe that is going to be that hard to find an impartial jury. I'm telling you, they got them people on camera shooting him, and if it is that hard to find an impartial jury, it's going to be a problem. That's another show.
Wow.
But I'm just saying, we're watching it. We're watching it. This violence against it's going to be another trial like George Zimmerman, they said. So like Trayvon Martin, I should say, not giving George Zimmerman any place. So I am going to go to our topic today, you guys. This is very important. I want to thank Lady Chrisette, who has brought a couple of our amazing guests on talking about National Domestic Violence Awareness. I'm going to give some of the stats after the break because I want to just bring in our guest and have her introduce herself before we go to break. You're going to love her. You're going to love her story. My mother came home from a program at church, and she slapped the card down and said, "Call her. She's going to be your guest on the show." I was like, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am." Okay, I listen to my mama most of the time. Her name is Soyini. You're gonna love it. Soyini Taylor Walton, and we're bringing her in. She received her MBA from St. Mary's College in Moraga, California, up the street from me, a Bachelor's of Science degree with an emphasis in finance from the California State University, East Bay. She is an empowerment speaker, an author, an inspiration coach. Soyini also serves as the chief content contributor for Clergy Wellness Magazine. She is also preparing for a January 2022 release of her course that teaches domestic violence victims to pick up the pieces and become unstoppable in life. She currently resides in San Jose with her husband, Brian Walton Sr., and their awesome son, Brian II. And she is the author of this amazing book we all will get, Going Through Hell to Get to Heaven. So would you guys please give a big round of applause as we bring in our guest, Soyini. Thank you, Soyini.
Hello.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you. Well, we can't wait to hear your whole story. I know it is going to be amazing. We have about 3 minutes before we go to break. And so just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing currently. And then we'll go back after the break and have you tell us how you got to this place. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Soyini.
So thank you, beautiful ladies, for having me today. It's been just wonderful watching the chemistry between you all. I've just been backstage loving it. So thank you for all of your energy. I appreciate it. So much fun. I found myself laughing and, feeling like I'm right there with you. So thank you so much.
Welcome to the tribe.
Yeah, I know, right? I feel like it. I really do. I appreciate that. I'm Soyini Taylor Walton. I grew up in Oakland, California, and I can guarantee you this. I can guarantee that I am the only person that you will ever meet that has 2 birthdays. Somebody with 2 birthdays who celebrates them for a very important reason. My first birthday, of course, is September 24th. That's my actual born day. But my second birthday is January 14th, 2009. And so that makes me, 12 years old or something. And I say January 14th, 2009, because that is actually why I wrote this book. It's when all the statistics that I've ever read about domestic violence became my reality. So I really look forward to kind of going into detail with you and telling you a story about domestic violence, because oftentimes I've done a lot of speaking around, the country, and people think they have this space for domestic violence. I'm the total opposite. I grew up in a 2-parent home, very loving home. I'm an educated woman. I'm smart, professional, all of that. And I found myself in a situation that I was not prepared for at all. And by the grace of God, I survived it. And that is exactly why I'm here today, because I always told God, actually, if you get me through this, I will never shut up. I will share my story with the world. So I look forward to doing that today. So that's kind of high level.
I love it. Can you tell us, I'm going to bring you in after the break to tell us about your story and tell us, from the beginning how this started. But tell us, you were in what part of the country when the incident happened?
Exactly. Yes. So I was born in Oakland. After I graduated undergrad, I actually moved to Washington, D.C. I got a job at Xerox. So I was Xerox sales rep. I sold to the D.C. government. So I was on the government team there. And so that's how I got to the D.C. area. Loved it. It's like my second home. I love like the D.C. area. I stayed out there for a really long time. Pretty much most of my professional career was in DC. So that's
Wow.
that's
Awesome.
where
That's
things
awesome.
Awesome.
happen. Yeah.
That's where
And so
things
Gloria,
happen. So
I was in your state, Gloria.
Yeah, that's
I was
awesome.
in
I'm excited to hear
Maryland.
more. I really am.
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. And Glory, I know Xerox. I don't even know if Xerox and IBM would have been competitors. I don't know, maybe not. But
They
in
were in
that,
some areas. They
Yeah.
were in some areas, but they were
Yeah.
great companies to watch the both of them together. Yeah, they were
Mhm.
Yeah.
titans in that time. Yeah.
big companies in
Great
that time.
company.
So we are looking forward to hearing your story. If anyone is listening in, we're going to pop this up on the screen. But if at any time you are thinking that you need to call the 24-hour hotline, I just want you to know that that number is 1-800-779-7233. 1-800-779-7233. We're going to go to break. I'm going to have Gloria chat with our Facebook audience, and we will be right back.
Whew.
Hey guys, I'm excited to be with you. This is going to be so interesting. What a day, y'all. What a day. What a day. Seriously, what a day to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning in Chicago, catch a 6 a.m. flight to BWI, land at BWI like at 8:50, jump on a Zoom from 9 to 11, then on another Zoom from 11 to 11:30, then do some phone calls really quickly, start putting on my makeup again. Like, not only did I change clothes a zillion times, I took a zillion showers already because then I got back and I got on the platform tour. So it's just been one of those days. And I want to tell you guys what were the blessings for me, the energy, the gratefulness, the sisterhood. I mean, just so many things. And now we're coming on to this show, and to be with your sisters, to talk about somebody like Colin Powell is one of the most amazing things. Now to be in the system, to hear another story of a woman who has not let her situation decide her circumstances forever. I just love the overcomer story, and I love women who break through, and I love the fact that they always give us hope. And for me, I love to get the reinforcement about the fortitude that women have, because we get caught up in that conversation. I'm so overwhelmed, so much is going on, so much is this, so much, and we forget to turn things over. We forget to stop trying to figure everything out, and that things are going to work out for you. And how we say, Maria Folio says, it's figure outable. And so I'm really excited to hear more from her. And you guys, seriously, I'm Pert, just love you. Okay, just love you, giving us names, giving us people. Oh my gosh, are we getting ready to start again? When they start dancing, I feel like no, it's our commercial. It's so good. So I want you to do, Pert said something. I want to say this, Pert. You said, tell everybody get on here. When you really get that one out of 3 women deal with domestic violence, there's very few people that you can invite that haven't been touched by it in one way or another, seen it, been touched by it, or know someone who's been touched by it very close to them. So I'm excited to dive into this subject and take advantage of this month, Breast Cancer Awareness and Domestic Violence Awareness Month, because it's a big deal, because there's so many other topics for us to talk about, for real. So I'm listening here. So you guys, don't forget to call in 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600, because when you're the host, you like people to call in. Like, I'm the host tomorrow, and I want y'all to call in, for real, because we're going to be talking a little bit about the civil rights tomorrow, and I'm excited about that. So I want to tell you, here we go. We're back to it. Don't miss a moment.
Hey, we are talking about National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We are talking with our special guest, Soyini Walton, Taylor Walton. We are going to learn about her amazing story. I just want to bring this to light. We have been talking about this all month. Approximately 1 in 4 women experience violence by an intimate partner, compared to 1 in 13 men. More than 40% of Black women will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. These numbers are shattering. Nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused. Um, Intimate partner violence accounts for 15% of all domestic violence crimes. On that national domestic violence hotline that we are showing on the screen, more than 20,000 phone calls come in every single day. You guys, it is so important that we even look at this worldwide. It's 27% of women 15 to 49 are affected by this. Most cases of domestic violence are never reported to police. In domestic violence homicides, women are 6 times more likely to be killed when a gun is in the house. 1 in 15 children are exposed and eyewitnesses to this type of violence. And just a couple more things, 53% of battered women are still involved with the perpetrator, and they experience self-blame for causing the violence. And lastly, we want to remember to check on girls of all ages, because 1 in 5 female high school students report being physically or sexually abused by a dating partner. 1 in 5 in high school. So Soyini, I know that we have some callers on the line. Thank you for hanging on. I want to give Soyini an opportunity to tell us her story and to tell us, just share with us about your experience.
Yes. So when I was living in DC, I had a good life. I had a great career. Like I said, I worked for Xerox. Then after that, I moved on to this company called DHL. Always, worked in sales. Was able to, buy a house on my own, which I was very proud of. And I got to a point where, I was kind of getting to a point in life when I wanted to, settle down, get married, and start a family. So I realize now that I wasn't necessarily in the most healthy mindset. I kind of was a little bit probably more desperate than I should have been, and therefore I met a man who was dangerous, and unfortunately I didn't know it. I know that when I met him, I always felt that something was a little different, a little bit off about him. Off in terms of not anything obvious, but there was always something in my spirit that felt that there was a part of himself that he was hiding, because he went to a great extent to always tell me that he's a nice guy. I'm in law school right now. He was in the military. He really put on this really like strong persona. But in the back of my mind, I just always felt like there was something a little different, and I couldn't shake that feeling. And I remember calling one of my really good girlfriends, and I was like, hey, I have this weird feeling about this guy. I'm not sure what it is, and she was like, well, what is it? She was like, she said, maybe you're just being paranoid or whatever. And she was like, just give us some time. So I ignored my own inner voice and just went on and continued to date him. Our relationship, it's funny. It was actually very smooth. We dated for less than a year. We never had any arguments. We never really had disagreements or anything. So it was pretty smooth, right? So I always felt like, why do I have this weird feeling about things? And so at a certain point, I realized that voice was probably telling me something. And I also started to notice some things that I thought he might be dishonest about. And I decided to end the relationship. And once I did that, once I decided to end the relationship, then I noticed that he began to just call me obsessively, to the point where it was just like he'd call me, text me all day, call me all day. He'd show up at my house. And I'm just like, okay, I've been in enough relationships to know that this is not normal. Like, if we're over, let's just kind of, just step away. And so that didn't happen. He began to kind of, now that I think back about everything, he sort of kind of tried to box me in. So he started calling all the different people in my circle and saying, oh, we broke up, but we really need to be together, and just, talk to your friend, tell her that, that we're supposed to be together, and all this stuff. That started making me feel weird. He did something also. I had taken him to my church once, and he actually called my pastor and told my pastor that we were having some issues and that we needed some help. Mind you, that's very strange to get a call from your pastor, and your pastor was like, is everything okay? I was so embarrassed, you guys. I was totally embarrassed. And that's when I was like, okay, this is just getting really bizarre. The next thing that he did that was a big red flag for me was that he had, because, we were on the East Coast, my family was on the West Coast in California. He had never met my family. So I told him, I had 2 brothers, And my younger brother was actually in college at the time. And, he was on a football team. And this, my estranged boyfriend actually called the football team's coach and was like, I'm dating his sister and I want to talk to him. And the coach told my brother's like, I'm not, no. And so when my brother told me that, I was like, this is just getting beyond the point of just being just crazy. And
Wow.
so I decided it just didn't make any sense. So I got to the point where I was like, okay, I need to get a restraining order. When I look back at life now, I never even thought of the words domestic violence really. That never kind of was in my mind. I didn't grow up seeing it from my parents. Nobody in any of my relationships, there was never anything like that. My friends either. So I kind of felt like, what's going on?
Couldn't be.
Then we have this issue of stalking, right? So I'm getting all these calls, I'm getting all these text messages, I'm getting these knocks on my door at 8 o'clock at night, 12 midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm getting terrified, you guys, because I live by myself and I knew he knew my home kind of inside out. And so I was just like, at what point is he going to, just try to break into my home? And so I started actually sleeping with a knife under my pillow because I was scared, and the restraining order in my situation just seemed to make things worse. Once I filed the restraining order, the behavior just got dialed up. The calls increased more and more. It increased so much that I started staying with different friends. Because I think I remember doing some Google research about stalking, because I did know that stalking existed. So it was saying change, your routes and your patterns. And so I started staying with various friends. I was kind of scared to do that because I didn't want to involve anybody in my own personal drama.
Right.
God forbid anything happened to one of my friends. I'd never be able to forgive myself. So one night I stayed with my girlfriend who lived not too far from me. And she dropped me back off at maybe 7 o'clock in the morning time for me to get ready to go to work. And he was already at my door. And so we pulled up. He didn't see us. We just saw him. And I was like, oh my God, he is in front of my house. So I called him and I was like, where are you? He was like, oh, I'm at work. And I was like, are you sure about that? And he was like, yeah, I'm at work. He said, I came in early. And I was just like, okay, it was just all these just strange, bizarre things that just weren't making sense. I felt overwhelmed. I felt very scared because I'd call the police and say, he's been in my neighborhood. My neighbors are calling me and they're coming over telling me that they see him during the day just circling my home. And so the police I feel like they really brushed me off. We weren't married. We didn't have children. We didn't live together. So the sentiment that I got from them, whether they knew it or not, was that, oh, she's just fighting with her boyfriend. Just like, oh, she's her and her boyfriend are fighting. So, and I felt so dismissed. I felt so powerless. I felt like I don't know how to get this behavior to stop. So what I decided to do was just kind of go on with my life. I tried to just keep things going. I had started my life coach practice with some other coaches, so we were working on doing a workshop together. I was volunteering for the Obama campaign, for the Obama inauguration, actually. So I was going to be at the inauguration. So I'd gone to the meetings for that. I was trying to live a normal life under very stressful and unusual circumstances. So on January 14th, 2009, I just remember I woke up and I was like, I had been crying a lot. I had bags under my eyes because I wasn't sleeping, because I always felt like I might, go to sleep and he might be, right at my bed or something. So I was starting to look a little tired. But that I remember I woke up and I was just like, okay, this day feels kind of weird. I'm feeling worn down, but I was like, I need to, go to this class at church that I have registered for. So I got in my car, and at the time I lived in the city called Laurel. Gloria, you probably know where Laurel is. So it's
Yeah,
right
I know
between
exactly where it is.
DC and Baltimore. And my
Yes.
church was actually in Baltimore. And so that drive to church, I just remember just sitting there thinking, okay, this stalking has got me worn out, but the behavior kind of has slowed down just a little bit, So I was like, well, maybe this is a sign that things are going to get better. And so I got to church and, I was sitting in the class at church And I remember a couple of people there were just like, are you okay? You don't seem like your normal self. Because I'm always, talking and chatty with people. That's just kind of my personality. But my soul and my spirit just felt very unsettled. I had been praying and praying and praying like crazy, trying to ask God for some, some protection or some guidance about what to do. So I was in the class and we focused on forgiveness. And I remember just doing a big prayer, like, Lord, I forgive him. I just want this to be over, whatever's going on. And I just released it. And when the class was over, I remember getting in the car, and that ride home is normally like maybe 35, 40 minutes. And it was the slowest ride of my life. I just felt like I was headed towards something bad. Deep in my spirit, I felt this, right? Because I've always been a very spiritual, intuitive person, and I felt that. And so I'll never forget when I pulled up to my development, I heard this very small voice just say, "He's here." And it just spoke to my spirit. It was just like, "He's here." And I was like, "No, he's not." And I just tried to brush it off because I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for it. Just to kind of, I hate to skip around, but and so that was January. In December, I had actually come home to visit my parents for the holidays, and I had this scary dream that he tried to kill me. And it was so scary and so vivid that I just woke up and I just was like sweating. I was just terrified. And so I kind of always had that in the back of my head. So on the night of January 14th, when I made the turn into my development, and I remember I parked in front of the house and I just sat there and I had my phone. I was like going through and I was like, okay, I got a meeting and I'm just going through, just trying to like, just, be normal. And so I got out of the car and I had I had my Bible in my right hand. I had papers from the class in my left hand. And I remember I got out of the car and I just heard Soyini, and it was his voice. And if I could have just passed out, I thought I was going to pass out. I was so terrified. And I remembered I turned around and I saw him. He was walking towards me and I was just shaking and everything in my hands, my Bible was shaking, the papers in my hands were shaking. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember him just walking, just like kind of slowly walking towards me. And I just stood there and I was just frozen. I couldn't move. And I remember him saying, let's go inside and talk. And I was just shaking and I was so nervous. I've never been so terrified that I started to speak my fear. And I was like, what are you doing here? I was like, there's a restraining order. And I was like, I'm scared. What are you doing here? And so he yanked my arm and the papers fell out of my arm and he started pushing me up the steps to my house. And the whole time he's pushing me, he's like, we need to talk. And, why'd you file the restraining order? And so I remember I was just like, oh God. And I remember thinking like, we're not both going to make it out of here tonight. And so I got to the door and I put my key in the door. And I just remember I turned and I looked at him and he had a New York Yankees jacket on. And there was this huge bulge like right in his pocket. And I was like, what's in your pocket? He was like, nothing, it's just keys. And he shoved me one more time. He was like, let's go in. And I remember smelling like, I think it's probably the smell of death or something. I just remember it was a smell. I've never smelled it before. I hope I never smell that again, but I smelled that and it was very strong. And I remember just pulling the key out of the door because I was like, if he gets me in this house, he's going to kill me in this house. And it might be days before somebody finds me. And I remember just pulling the key out. And I remember looking at him. I was like, whatever you need to say to me, you got to say it to me out here. And I looked across and I saw one of my neighbors and I could tell she knew what was going on because I had already told her about, the stalking and all that stuff. And so we started walking down the steps. And so once I made that decision to take that key out, I switched up everything because he had a plan. I knew at that point, the Holy Spirit already told me he had a gun, right? And that he's going to get me in the house and kill me. I knew that he had that plan and I knew that he had the power and control. So when I took that key out, I switched it up and I had the power and control because I was like, no, we're not doing what you're doing. We're going to do something else because I need to live. And so I started walking down the steps and the whole time he's still kind of like pushing me and like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I remember I had this intention of going to my neighbor's house right next door, because it's like the Lord was just telling me step by step what to do. Like, turn this way, walk this way, go to Carlton's house next door. Like, he was just telling me everything. I had so much just divine information coming through. And I remember the last vision I had of him, he was standing about maybe like 5 feet away or something, 6 feet maybe. And we were kind of going back and forth and arguing. And he just, like, so fast, that pocket that was bulging, he just whipped in there and he whipped out this gun. And I remember I saw it and I was shocked, because I had never seen a gun in my life, ever, never seen a gun in my life. And I was like, this is the moment. And I just remember, I was like, God, this is not the way I'm supposed to leave here. And I remember that shot, that initial shot. I remember it. And when he did it, I kind of remember his, like, coming back into himself, like, I just shot her. And I fell like this. I fell face forward and I hit the ground like this. And it was January. It was, in Maryland, so it was cold. And I just remember, like, hitting that cold pavement. And I remember, like, then I was kind of looked up, and then he stood and he did it one more time. He shot me, like, one more time. And my inner dialogue was just like, God, this can't be the way that I'm going to leave here. And I just heard the Holy Spirit say, it's not your time. And I just remember, like, that's when I was just like, it was one of those surreal moments. And I just remember hitting the ground, and I remember just being there. And I remember this, like, current of energy just going through my whole body. I don't know, to this day, I don't know what that is. It's just like an electrical current just went right through me. And I remember trying to, like, push, and I was trying to get up because I could hear people around me screaming and crying and praying. And I was trying to push. And I remember my neighbor, he was like, oh, so he was like, just stay there, baby. He said, stay there. And
did he run, Soyini? Where was he standing after that? He stood there.
He stood there, and then once he got the second one in, then he jumped in his truck and drove off. So I could hear that. I could hear that kind of commotion. And I couldn't figure out where he shot me because I couldn't move.
Did he shoot you? I mean, did the bullet penetrate?
Yeah. So one landed here, here. So I still have fragments in my jaw, and the other one, I lost my right eye, so I have a prosthetic eye now because of that. But I'm fine with that because I got two. I've always had two good eyes. Now I got one really good eye. So if that's all I had to lose, I'm thankful. So that's where the point. That's where he got me. And when I was trying to push up, I was pushing up because, number one, I was like, I'm gonna kick his ass. That was just the realest. I'm sorry, ladies, but that's the real. That's what I was thinking. And then the other side, the more spiritual side, was I was I felt like there was a presence trying to pull me up. So I was trying to, like, go with all that. So it was like all these things going on at that time. And I just remember, like, at some point I just was like, I can't move. And I just kind of passed out. And I remember then being in the ambulance and telling them, like, who he was. I gave his full name, the make, model, and year of the car, the tags. I gave them my parents' information, and
as we listen, I mean, your story, it's so riveting. It's so, I mean, it's challenging to even listen to, and yet it's so important to tell the story and hear the story, because this is real. And this is what happens. And the blessing is we see the after. We see you here looking beautiful, married with a child. And and yet I hear you say, even though there wasn't physical evidence, I hear you say over and over and over again, I felt something. There was a sign. Yes. Clearly, your connection with the Holy Spirit, you got several taps. Right. And God totally protecting you. So it's like, woo.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Lisa. I'm going to go to one caller, and then I'm going to go to the girlfriends. Lisa, are you still there? Thanks for holding. Okay, so we're going to go to Lisa. Thank you for tuning in to We Got Issues on this very important show.
Yes, good evening. I have some brief comments. First, I'm so glad the Lord led me to get on today, that I was available, and He brought it to my mind, and for me to find my index card with all the information of great programs. I come from that type of home environment of domestic violence. My mother got out here my mother and her 5 children and lived with her to live with her parents. Make a long story short, she really suffered, but I went through counseling. I was able to get married and what have you, but she relived her hurts because it was so traumatic. Even when she had dementia, she was talking about how she was done. But the blessing was I give to the Bad Women's Shelter. Even after she passed, I made a donation 1 year and another year to help the women in her memory. And I even spoke for the shelter a couple of times. But listening to her story, there are warning signs. And also, it would be a blessing if someone could have a ministry working with girls, probably starting in 6th grade, before they get in 7th grade, start having questions on guys to know the signs. They have to know who they are in Christ Jesus. To make a long story short, years ago, First Lady Chrisette Ellis spoke in Sylvania, Ohio, and I attended that women's program. She spoke on, I don't know the title, but it was Who We Are in Christ, and she was scripture based, and when I came out of there, I felt like a better person. And then a friend of mine wrote out some things, who we are in Christ. I'm starting to read it to my 1-year-old granddaughter. But we, as women, need to know who we are in Christ. So the male, so that we and know what it says in the Word of God, how women are supposed to be submissive to the husband. That don't mean slave days get pulled out of here. Men are supposed to have rule over their wives, whatever it says. But that doesn't mean to be really in the truth. They need to know clearly how to treat one another, so they could know and how they're supposed to be treated, so they can know the early signs, just like you had the pre-warning. That makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your story and for leaning into this very important conversation. And thank you for your donations to the Battered Women's Shelter. I know that is a difference in lives. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. The big question
they're asking in the chat is, we definitely want to know, is your perpetrator in jail? Has he been apprehended?
No, he's not in jail. In the book, so he's no longer alive.
Understood.
Yeah.
So, and I could not even imagine what it would be like. And personally, I don't know how to language that, but to say, because you're never happy that someone is no longer alive. But to me, that would be a way that you could sleep at night, which is just a blessing. So I'm going to allow the girlfriends to come in. Chrisette, I know you've had some shows. We've done 1 or 2 shows on domestic violence, and I know that Greater Grace provides so much support for the community, as well as the caller was talking about. So just inviting y'all into the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, so Nene, I promise you, I was sitting here.
And Chris, we can't hear you on the.
I'm sorry. So Nene, I was sitting here listening to your story, and literally my heart rate was going higher and higher. And your story is so compelling, and you really brought us into what was taking place during that particular time in your life. And I'm sitting here and I'm like just spellbound listening to your story. And then it dawned on me, so many women have a similar story as you.
Yes.
And so thank you so much for sharing it, because I know it's going to help so many women. And, you talked about, we do at our church have a ministry called Sisters Against Abuse Society. And, we do a lot with women who have been battered and whatnot. And every year prior to COVID, we would have a domestic violence Sunday. And it was really kind of sad, because they would bring in these images of women and little kids. They didn't have a face. And then they have on them their story. And it was all of these individuals who had passed because they were killed by their perpetrator But you said something that was just so powerful. So many times we think when people go through domestic violence, they're married or, that's their partner. But from the beginning, you tried to get out of the situation and it just escalated. And just real quickly, can you talk about a few of the signs when you go back, you saw this, this, and this, so that they can write those down and say, if I'm dating somebody, he's doing this, this, and this, I need to run.
Yeah. The most important thing that I personally think is to let the Lord speak to you when you meet someone. That's romantic relationships or anything. So the Lord was always kind of telling me something is not right about this. So when you hear that voice, I think the Lord's voice has to be as clear to you as like your best friend or something.
Right.
So hear that voice, surrender to it, and just say, okay, Lord, I don't know all the details, but I trust that you're giving me this information for a reason. So that's the first thing. Trust everything that he tells you, because I do believe he prepares us in that way. And then also just kind of the other thing, and this might sound obvious, but when somebody tries to seem like they're too good to be true, then you got to really watch that. I've never known, I don't go around personally saying, oh, I'm a happy person. I'm not, I let you determine that for yourself. But for him, I just think about, he was always like painting like a picture for me from the moment I met him. Like, this is who I am. This is, he was always trying to make it seem like he was a certain person. And so that also is a sign to me when someone is just trying to, be so perfect and tell you how great they are. Look out for that, because that might not necessarily be true,
So Yini, what about recovery? I mean, amazing story. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so open and honest. Thank you for writing a book. There's so many women. I mean, when Katrina read these statistics, 40% of Black women will experience domestic violence of some sort. Honestly, my heart goes out, and it's like, how can we do a better job? But tell us a little bit about your recovery, your road back to health and sound mind and being brave and confident and going on with your life.
Right. Well, it's been a process. I've always been a, very godly woman. So that was a big source. And then I think the most important thing was that, my parents, I have great parents and brothers that are awesome. And, I've always had a lot of love around me is what I'm saying. So I went through this horrible traumatic experience, but from that, I got to come back to love. And that just kind of nurtured me. So I had that. I got therapy early on. Like I saw a therapist to kind of start to process these emotions. And just let yourself, cry. Like I let myself just feel the pain of what happened. I let myself grieve the life that I, no longer had, learning to live, with one eye and, all the adjustments that I had to make because of that. And then also begin to make the mental shift. And that's part of the course that I'm, released starting in January, is just the mindset shift. When I was a domestic violence victim, that was one mindset, and that kept drawing more fear to me. But then when I decided I wanted to be a victor, then that created other outcomes and opportunities for me. So your mind is very powerful. It's very, very powerful. So harness the power of your mind. I use that same power. It's funny, everything happened to me on January 14, 2009. By January 2010, I started my MBA program, and I completed that in 18 months. And so, I just mindset, I let my parents and my friends and family love on me.
Powerful.
And I had to create a new vision and then write the book and, just kind of, sometimes the Lord will just strip you down to your bare essence just to build you up even greater than you would have ever imagined. And that's what I think happened.
I have a question for you, because I thank you so much for the detail in which you shared that story, because sometimes, I always tell people it doesn't have to look like the burning bread, and it doesn't have to look like this undercover situation. It's such a vast, long list of what it can look like and what it can be like, and domestic and physical and emotional and financial. I mean, there's so much to it. So I thank you for that. I want to ask you, because I'm glad you asked that question, Sabrina. You know, what was your path back? But what caused you to be transparent with your story? I remember the moment I became transparent with my story, and I'll never forget what that was like. So what drove you to tell the story? Because I tell people the biggest, the heaviest thing you can carry is a secret. And unfortunately, the reason that domestic violence is so powerful is because so many people keep it a secret. That's why it has such power. So the more you talk about it, the more the power is reduced. But what made it happen for you, and what did you see in that moment when you started sharing your story?
Yeah, I think that's what you're spot on, Gloria. So when I knew that I was going to be here, when I was in the ICU at University of Maryland shock trauma, and I remember at that
Shock
point,
trauma?
you know,
Oh my God,
yeah.
my
So I
husband's on the
started,
board of the shock trauma unit.
yeah,
That's
yeah. So
craziness.
that was I first went to a regional hospital, and then they helicoptered me over to shock trauma when they figured out she might make it, you know. So when I got there, I just remember saying, God, if you get me through this, I will never stop sharing my story. And I meant that. So I made that agreement. And in doing that, I knew that I was also signing up to be vulnerable. You know, nobody likes to get up here and share the worst experience of their life and to say, wow, I was a little desperate when I met this person. I'm sharing these intimate details of my life and, you know, my journey. But that has to be said because I do want people to see like what this looks like. You know, I want them. And the only way I know to get people to really see stuff is to be raw and to be open and to be vulnerable, you know. And so I feel like honestly I don't have a choice. This is how God wants to use me. I couldn't do it any other way. This is the best way. And in my book I'm super detailed too. Like I just want people to know, hey, this is how it happens. Hopefully it deters any other woman from being in something like this. You know, wake up, I'm just like you, you know, just like you.
I want to share your website before we finish today, and make sure that you guys follow Soyini. It's for those of you on the radio, it's SOYINI. So it's SoyiniWalton.com, and on Facebook it's Soyini Walton. And on Instagram, it's Soyini_Walton. So you can find that. And the book, Going Through Hell to Get to Heaven, you can order it on Amazon today. And so much more detail in the book. I mean, Soyini, we have just 1 minute. I'm going to give you the last word. What would your final message be, just in terms of how you found new love? Because moving on and finding new love and having an amazing son.
Wow. Yeah, I think self-love is the most important message, the most important takeaway. When you really love yourself and you know, you love yourself, you love the Lord, then you can't lose. When I really embraced self-love deeply and then I went to the Lord about, you know, him bringing the man to me, you know, the husband to me, everything turned around. So you have to have a strong foundation and just loving yourself and loving the Lord. And you can't lose.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Soyini, for sharing your story. Thank you guys for going to Amazon to check out her book. And again, the National Domestic Violence 24-hour hotline, 1-800-799-7233. We will be looking forward to you tuning in tomorrow. I know this is a challenging subject to hear, but we thank Soyini for telling her truth. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.